Hi, Doug. Thank you
Hey,
so much for agreeing to do this 15-minute franchise owner interview. I know that our candidates so value just hearing about your experience. And really, I mean, it's who better to hear from than a current franchise owner?
well, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm happy to
Yeah,
do so. Yeah,
thank you. And would
good.
you mind just sharing like your name, location, when
Sure,
you started with Right at Home, and how many territories you have?
sure. So my name is Doug Ashe. I'm in the Pittsburgh market, and I actually have three territories in the Pittsburgh. One of which I purchased from right at home at inception, and the other two I purchased from another franchisee who was not cultivating those at the level that he would have liked, and so
Mhm.
I purchased them as adjoining territories.
Oh, fantastic. And
Mhm.
uh, tell me a little bit about your background before becoming a right at home franchise owner.
Okay. I spent most of my life, probably the first 30 years or so of my career, in the distressed assets business. So I was a partner in a firm that we would purchase distressed assets from the top six banks in the country.
Mhm.
And then we would go about the process of turning them into performing assets. And
Okay.
I did that for 35 years or so.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a big change from what you were doing before to right at home. So tell me a little bit about your journey getting to that point.
Yeah, so we didn't anticipate selling that business. It kind of came to us very quickly. So
Mhm.
we very quickly sold it. It was a good deal, and we sold the business. And I decided to retire. And it was pretty early in life that I was able to do that, and I really was not prepared for retirement. Um, and I got very bored after about a couple of years. I got very bored. I think the truth is, my wife kicked me out of the house, okay, and said, "You got to go find something to do."
Yes.
My mother was an Alzheimer's patient the last 10 years of her life, and I
Okay.
saw what she went through. And
Mhm.
I wanted to do something that was meaningful. And so I steered myself toward the in home care space.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
And I was going to say three territories does not sound like retirement.
No, no, it's not
So,
retirement. That's true.
yes.
But that's what I was looking for. I was very bored.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And it sounds
Hmm.
like, with that personal situation you had with your mom, it really, you realize what an impact that makes in people's lives
Absolutely.
and what a meaningful business.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through what your typical day was like when you first got started versus now? I'm sure it's completely
Okay. Well, when you first get started, you're trying to get your legs under you and
different.
figure
Yeah.
out exactly, right, exactly what you're to do, et cetera. And so I just started calling on the major the major players in the industry as potential referral sources. And I got lucky. I mean, most of my background was in institutional relationship management, so
Hmm.
that's where I was most comfortable. And I did not want to rely on retail referrals.
Hmm.
I wanted to be in the wholesale business. So I
Hmm.
spent most of my time determining which of the institutions that were in my marketplace would be the best sources for that and where I could be most helpful. And I nurtured those relationships, and that didn't prove to be quickly, reliable, but over time, it's been very reliable for us. It's having those heavy institutional relationships where they understand that we're an extension of the service and the care that they provide to their residents. And
Hmm.
once they understood that we were able to mirror those cultural values that they have, we became largely accepted. And that's when the business began to take hold.
Perfect. And you may have mentioned it, I might not have caught it, but when did you actually start at Right at Home?
So we incorporated in October of 15. So that's the day the lights went on in our
Okay.
new office. But we really it was more like February of 15 before
Mhm.
we started making it a day-to-day practice. So it's about February of 15. So about 8 years or so.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
when did you decide to expand? Did you start with just the one territory and then acquire two additional?
Well, the second territory that I purchased was immediate because the territory that was available I didn't think was the most productive territory for us.
Mhm.
And so I purchased the one that I thought would be more, it was adjoining and more productive.
Mhm.
And then I actually purchased another standing in-home care company
Oh,
uh,
okay.
yeah, about 5 or 6 years ago. It was owned by one of my referral sources.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and they didn't think they were managing it as well as they should. And we were doing some things differently. And so we had conversations about, how could we work together? And the conversation started with them purchasing my group and ended with me purchasing their group.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so in order to be able to do that, their geographic area that they really needed, where that business was housed, was in a territory that I didn't own. So I had to negotiate the purchase of that territory from that same franchisee
Okay. Okay.
in order
Fantastic.
to effect that transaction.
Absolutely. So it sounds like a lot of your past experience has been a huge asset at Right at Home
Yeah,
as
I
well.
mean, I think everybody does that, right? There's some
Mhm.
people that are good at different things. And I think that's what you have to do when you come in to start a business is you have to understand what you're good at and
Mhm.
what you're best at and where you have some weaknesses and play to
Mhm.
your strengths as best you can.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Thinking about, the support that you get at Right at Home, what do you feel like is the most valuable part of that support?
Well, this is a little embarrassing because I don't think I've done well on that respect, right? I
Okay.
think Right at Home has abundant support
Hmm.
that I did not take advantage of early. If I could turn the clock back, I
Hmm.
would have been much more engaged in those support mechanisms than I've been.
Hmm.
And if I couldn't have done it, this again is knowing what you're not good at. So
Hmm.
I'm not good at that. So
Yes.
if I couldn't have done it, I should have assigned that to someone in the organization. I think we'd be a lot further faster had we grabbed a hold of all those resources available to us.
Sure.
What I've done instead is I've treated Right at Home as kind of a board of advisors
Hmm.
because I do know who does what inside the corporate organization,
Hmm.
and I identified as best I can the subject matter experts,
Hmm.
and then I use them as an advisory council
Okay.
and tap into each one of those experts. But I really, if I could turn the clock back, I'd have done it very differently, and that's what I would encourage a new
Sure.
franchisee to do, is to really grab a hold of that support mechanisms and use
Hmm.
them for all they're worth, because I do think I'd have been better off having done that.
Absolutely. Well, thank
Right.
you.
Mhm.
And then, what is a piece of advice you would give to somebody who's going through the process just to
Yeah.
determine, hey, would Right at Home franchise ownership be a good fit for me and my family?
So a couple things, and this is what I went through for myself. When I approached this, the first thing I had to decide was, is this the business that's right for me?
Hmm.
And so I knew why I wanted to be in it. I didn't know enough about it to know whether it could give me what I was looking for, is that sense of fulfillment, but I
Hmm.
expected that it could. So
Hmm.
I really went through a whole lot of internal review of, okay, is this really what I want to do? And then I got to a point where I was able to throw my heart over the wall and say, yeah, there's no turning back. This is what I'm going to do. So, my advice to anybody starting a new business, particularly one that is as personal as this one, is you have to burn the boats, right? So, the explorers in the early days, when they would land somewhere and they knew it to be, that it was going to be rewarding, they
Hmm.
also knew it was going to be difficult.
Yep.
So once they knew it was going to be rewarding, they burned the boat so nobody could leave, right? There was
Yes.
no
Oh my
return
gosh,
home.
I love that.
Yeah, right. So I would say this is a business where you have to burn the boats, and you have
Yes.
to say, I know why I'm in it. I know what I can get out of it for myself, but I've got to give a lot of people what they need in order to get there. And,
Absolutely.
it's a tough business from that perspective, but every business is tough. This is just tough in its own way.
Absolutely. And I think too, when you are doing something that has so much meaning, the hard work isn't as hard,
Yeah,
because you have that passion and purpose behind it.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. When you have a tough day and then you reflect back on, who did I really help today? Forget that
Mhm.
one situation that has me upset.
Yep.
I have another 73 people today that are better off for me having been in their lives, right? And that's what we try to teach our staff and have them make sure that they get fortified by that.
Hmm.
Because in every business, you need some form of fortification when things get tough. And this is a business because it's got a lot of human variables in it.
Hmm.
Your caregivers are needy and your clients are needy. And
Hmm.
you've got to serve both of those constituencies in order to do well.
Absolutely. Well, Doug, I so appreciate your time today. I'm sure that your mom's looking down and is so proud of you,
I hope so.
for the impact that you're making on countless lives.
Yeah,
I know situations like that are never easy. And actually, my grandmother had Alzheimer's or dementia,
really. Okay.
ended up passing away at 79. And that is really why I became a part of this organization.
Is it really? Yeah. Isn't that
Absolutely.
something? Yeah.
Yes. And
And I think that story plays out.
mhm,
A lot of the owners, I think, have one of those stories in them. And it's
absolutely.
why he or she entered the space.
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
And I always think, if I can find really amazing owners, they're going to
Hmm.
create a ripple effect and help so many other people out there.
Yeah.
And it's that love that I have for my grandmother is why, this job's so rewarding.
Yeah.
I know she's proud of me. I know your mom's proud of you. And I know you're just helping change so many people's lives. At corporate, we so appreciate our owners because we know how much work you're putting in and what a difference you're making. And
Yeah.
that's something, that you're always going to be remembered by. That's that legacy you're going to leave behind
Yeah.
is, you're touching people that you don't even see them because it's their family members. It's that trickle down effect.
Yeah. That's right. And what's really amazing is whenever you have a client that passes and then
Mhm.
you engage the family, that's when you really begin to hear the difference that hopefully that your organization was able to make. Is from the family members grieving the loss of that person, but also helping to celebrate the role, even if it was very small, because we're just non-medical support. But I do think at times we play a very significant role in the quality of their lives. And that's often when you get that kind of feedback is after they've passed and you meet the families and spend some time with them discussing their loved one. That's when I think you learn the impact that you've had.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Well, I so appreciate your time today, Doug. It has been
Thank you,
such a
Jess.
pleasure. And I know that so many people are going to love hearing your story. I definitely did. And
Great.
I look forward to talking to you soon.
Me too. Okay.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.